USA, Colorado State Research Laboratory. Amelia Bradley takes notes on an experimental organism that was bred. The S11 organism was in the incubation stage, and at that very second, the shell began to break off. Because of overtime, Amelia witnessed the story. She immediately took out her phone to photograph everything and send it to the work chat. S11 looked adorable, a bit like sea wax, and had a body like a jellyfish with glowing tentacles. Electricity began to flow into the aquarium. The girl immediately unplugged it and was about to move it. The tentacles grabbed her. Amelia turned out to be the one whom fate chose. She thought she was dead, but someone touched a water bottle to her lips. Amelia screamed so that the tentacles would not eat her. Standing in front of her was Austin Cooper, the Lion King and the head of the Western tribe. He asked the girl not to spill the water, as it was very valuable here. Amelia began to apologize and thank the guy for saving her. Austin looked at her without taking his eyes off. He had never seen someone like her before. He asked the girl what tribe and what species she was from. She didn't understand what was happening and why she was in the desert, when just a minute ago she was in the laboratory. Austin said he had never heard of the lab tribe. They were definitely not his tribe. He was outraged that she was without males and was left alone in the desert. Amelia didn't understand anything, especially since the guy used some strange words like tribe, males. She noticed the lion's ears and began to touch them, squealing from their softness. The girl tried to remove them from him. Amelia thought she was hallucinating because of the C11 attack. Austin grabbed the girl's hand. He was angry. No one had the right to touch the king's ears. It was a forbidden area. Amelia did not take his words seriously and grabbed him by the tail and began to touch him. It seemed to the king that she was trying to court him. He took an arrow, put it to the girl's neck, and demanded to know who she was and what tribe she was from. The pain was real, which means she has moved somewhere and is now in danger. Amelia was confused. She did not know what to do. She escaped death, but was transported to an unknown time. A voice appeared in the girl's head, and then an incomprehensible bird with a girl's face appeared out of nowhere, saying that she was her system, White Ari. Amelia screamed, asking Austin to turn around and look at the yellow girl who appeared out of nowhere. He stood as if paralyzed. Amelia took the opportunity to remove the arrow from her throat. She was saved by the system, which said that she was now the girl's golden instrument and asked her not to call her yellow anymore, since she was white. Amelia did not understand what the system was talking about and why it had brought her to this strange time. As it turned out, the girl in her world died as a result of an accident associated with an unexpected mutation of a new species. But Amelia was lucky. The system chose her, making her the daughter of a desert world and endowing her with the skill of rain. After she completes the Oasis mission in this world, she will be able to be reborn in her own. The girl was furious that she died without receiving the glory for creating S11. She was offended that she had studied for so many years and even managed to find a job at a research institute. She was so busy that she had never even fallen in love or tried king crab. Amelia decided that she must return to her world after completing the mission. There were 4 main tribes in this world: the Western, Eastern, Northern, and Southern tribe. After the girl receives the 4 treasures of these worlds, she will be able to combine their power and become the goddess of water. Then she will have the power to turn the desert world into an oasis. To understand Amelia's rain skill, she needs to kiss Austin and she will understand everything. Amelia thought that the system was mocking her because just a minute ago he tried to kill her. A kiss was necessary if she wanted to come back, especially since the guy is handsome and has lion ears, which the girl liked so much. Amelia did not understand how to do this since he was ready to kill her because of one touch. And if she kissed him, then she would definitely not see her life. The system pushed her towards the guy and reassured her that no one would hurt the girl. Moreover, they would even begin to thank her. Amelia kissed Austin. The rain began to pour, and a voice sounded in the girl's head that she had received the kiss achievement and mastered the rain skill. The Lion King was happy. He felt the raindrops on him. Taking her in his arms, he said that there had been no rain on the territory of their tribe for a long time, and Amelia was a goddess sent to them by heaven. The girl now understood the words of the system that she would never be offended, but rather praised. Amelia turned on the know-it-all in her and assured Austin that there was nothing to worry about. As long as there was a lot of water vapor here, it would rise up in the airflow and begin to condense to form clouds. The king did not understand what she was talking about, but looked at her with admiration, making sure that she really was a goddess. Elliot the scorpion appeared out of nowhere, grabbed Amelia, and squeezed her tightly with his tail. She was in a lot of pain. She just calmed the lion, and then a scorpion appeared. Austin snatched the girl from the scorpion's hands, telling him that she was his female. Elliot quipped that the eternally lonely lion had finally got a female, after the scorpion's words that because of the patriarchy of the lion tribe, the latter can enjoy so many women, and maybe they will try this female together. Amelia pressed herself closer to Austin even more. The Lion King took out his arrows, aiming them at the scorpion. Having fought off all the arrows, Elliot said that Austin would soon change his mind, and it would be easier for him to just give the female to him. Leo was angry at such impudence. He asked Amelia not to go anywhere. He reincarnated as a lion and seriously decided to fight for the sake of the female. The scorpion accepted this fight. Amelia was shocked by what she saw. She did not understand what kind of world this was in which you could change your shape. For a second, she thought about escaping, but then she came to her senses, because she was in a completely unfamiliar world, and if she escaped, she would definitely stumble upon some beast. She decided that the best thing to do in this situation would be to use the lion as a shield and slowly complete the system's missions. Amelia put her hand in her pocket and felt for something. Scorpio and Leo fought fiercely. She found a flashlight. Scorpions are nocturnal, so they are very sensitive to bright light. Amelia shined the flashlight on the scorpion, and it let out a howl from the brightness. Elliot ran away, leaving his tail in the sand. It turned out that he did not run away, but was heading from behind towards Amelia, his mouth open and about to eat her alive because of the pain it caused. The lion jumped on him, biting him, and the scorpion disappeared. Amelia found herself in Austin's arms, and he carefully asked if she was okay. The big scorpion was dead. This beastman seemed so dangerous, but the lion tore it into small pieces. In this world, everything was decided by strength. The weak became victims of the strong. Western region of the Lion King tribe. The daughter of the former leader of the Mayan tribe, she was worried about why Austin had not returned for so long. In the distance, she saw his silhouette and exhaled that the Lion King had finally returned. Seeing the girl in his arms, she tensed. There was a rumor in the tribe that Austin had returned not only with water, but also with a beautiful sister, and everyone wanted to see her. Amelia was in the priestess's house. Austin gave Maya flasks of rainwater to give to people. Maya was worried about the question of who the girl was with him and why he picked her up. Stroking Amelia's hand, Austin replied that the girl was attacked by a scorpion because she lost consciousness, and that's why he brought her to the tribe. Maya, of course, was pleased by the lion's kindness, but their reserves are barely enough to meet the needs of the tribe's inhabitants and will not be enough for a new person. Looking at him with a jealous gaze, she thought that it was necessary to expel the stranger since Austin was only hers. The Lion King had suspicions that the girl was the goddess of rain sent by him from heaven, because after meeting her, it began to rain. Maya could not believe his words, because Amelia did not look like a goddess at all. Surely they could find out whether the goddess was a girl or not, only when the priestess came. A priestess of the Epheclar tribe entered the house. Those present were delighted with her, and immediately rushed to ask her to use her stone in order to understand whether the girl was a goddess or not. The priestess asked the ball, emitting the light of the gods, to give her strength and show Amelia's fate. The stone fell to the ground, not revealing the divine power in the girl, but something was wrong. Even taking this into account, the stone should not have reacted like that. The stone showed the future that Amelia would bring a lot of rain. At the same time, he showed that a new tribe would come to their lands in order to expel everyone. Taking this opportunity, Maya approached Austin and asked how soon they would get this girl out of their tribe. The priestess stopped them. The girl could not be kicked out, as she could influence the future of their tribe, and everything had to be carefully weighed. Maya suggested holding a vote and thus deciding the fate of this girl. Opinions were divided. The girls were in favor of kicking her out, and the guys, on the contrary, were in favor of leaving the female in the tribe. Amelia woke up and did not understand what the screams and noise were all around. Austin said in an orderly tone that this was his female, and no one would lay a finger on her. Amelia was struck by his words that she was his female, and she didn't understand why he started talking like that again. Maya clenched her hand into a fist. She believed that only she could be Austin's female. Austin abode. He brought Amelia to his monastery. Now she had to live with him. Pointing to the place where the girl would sleep, he clarified that since she was his female, he would sleep with her. Amelia was indignant. She was not going to sleep with a guy she barely knew, and besides, she noticed that Maya was not breathing smoothly towards him and clearly would not be happy with this situation. Austin hugged the girl and said that Maya was just his youngest, and she was his female. It's time for dinner. This morning the Lion King shot a boar, cutting off a leg and giving it to Amelia. He said with hope in his voice that she should have enough. The girl didn't understand how she was supposed to eat it. Austin did not understand her indignation. How else can you eat meat other than bite and eat? The female vomited from what she saw. She, of course, understood that lions eat raw meat. But Austin was now in human form. Had they really not learned to use fire in this world? Amelia asked if he had a fire, but the fires of their tribe were well guarded, and there was none in the lion's abode. She couldn't stay hungry, but it was also impossible to eat raw meat, so the girl made do with only fruit. The female was eating apples and thinking that she would have to teach them something, and she would start by making a fire. Although they slept together, fortunately for her, Austin did not do strange things. A system appeared in front of Amelia. She was outraged why the girl was hesitating and had not yet attacked him with kisses. The girl did not understand what kisses had to do with fulfilling the Oasis mission, and what this had to do with the king. The system reminded me of the kiss after which the rain skill opened, and in order to get more skills, you should have more intimacy with Austin. Amelia decided that she would not lose anything if she kissed such a handsome guy, but then she stopped these thoughts. The Lion King turned to the female and hugged her, but felt her heat. He picked her up from the ground and began to cowardly so that she would wake up. Most likely the girl had hypothermia. He picked her up and carried her to the desert fox Oscar, who knew about healing. Oscar was surprised how he was found, but then he remembered what a keen sense of smell the lion has. The fox was struck by the beauty of the female, but her condition was critical, and he told the lion that if he could not take care of her, then let him give her to him. Austin looked at Oscar angrily and ordered him to discard unnecessary thoughts, since this was his female. The dune cat, Lassie, saw the guys, seeing Amelia and how she was suffering. The cat shook the guys so that they would not stand like a pillar, but would help. Amelia had a very hot forehead. The fox said that if it was very serious hypothermia, then there was no time to delay. The female's clothes were all wet because of the rain, and Austin completely forgot about it and laid her on the cold ground. Lassie went to get her clothes to change the girls. Oscar's cave. Austin began to hastily change Amelia's clothes. He was a little embarrassed, since before this incident he had never seen a woman's body. The lion thanked the fox for the medicine and said that he would bring the boar later. Oscar joked that he was saving the female not because of the boar, but because of her beauty. But in fact, he had long dreamed of trying boar. Austin sat the female down and began to give her the medicine, but it flowed out of her mouth, and then the lion found a way to give the medicine so that it would not flow out. Pouring the medicine into his mouth, the Lion King kissed Amelia. The girl felt very sad. She began to come to her senses, but it seemed to her that it was a dream, and decided that in a dream she could do whatever she wanted, so she pressed Austin closer to her. The Lion King pushed her away, and the female finally woke up. He said with joy in his voice that the drug worked, and Amelia realized that the bitterness was not without reason. The girl realized that this kiss was not a dream, and at that very second she felt ashamed of her action. A mission appeared and congratulated her on the appearance of the thunder skill. But for now, this skill is at the stage of stagnation, so Amelia cannot use it. Amelia accepted that kissing Austin really opens up new skills, but is there really no other way? The mission smiled sarcastically and said that there are other ways. For example, try to kiss someone else. For example, a fox. The girl was upset. It was obvious that she meant a change in method, not a person. Oscar approached Amelia. Taking her hand, he introduced himself and offered to become his female instead of Austin, since he was better. He can not only dig holes well, but also heal. Besides, he is great at giving massages, and he is also small and cute. For Amelia, the locals were so primitive because they asked to be their females. First a scorpion, then a lion, now a fox. As soon as the girl began to refuse him, Oscar immediately made a very sweet look that the girl melted and asked to touch his tail. She took him in her arms, but he was so small, cute, and fluffy. Seeing this, Austin grabbed Amelia by the hand, saying that it was time for them to return. The fox fell to the ground. Oscar shouted after them that they had forgotten their clothes. Amelia recognized her clothes. She was surprised why the fox had them and who and when managed to change them. Austin admitted that he was the one who changed her clothes, since she was his female, and he had to take care of her clothes. The girl was unconscious, and the king could not ask her permission, and changed clothes with his eyes closed. Seeing the displeasure on Amelia's face, Austin grabbed her hand and asked what she had against him. She reassured him that everything was fine, because he had saved her life so many times, and she had never even thanked him. The Lion King looked confused. He couldn't understand if she wasn't unhappy with him, then why she was angry when she found out that he had changed her clothes. Amelia believed that they were not too close for this, especially since he did not even know her name. Austin decided to get acquainted again, introducing himself. He asked the girl's name and what tribe she was from, but if there were no problems with the name, then she didn't know what to say about the tribe. He wondered how it could be that there was no tribe. Had she been driven out, or something worse? The lion pressed the girl to the wall and said that now all this does not matter. Since she is his female, she will henceforth be a member of his tribe. Amelia pushed Austin away. She was outraged by such impudence. He insisted from the very first meeting that she was his female, but the girl did not even give her consent. Leo grabbed Amelia by the hands and placed her on his chest. It was important for him to find out what he had to do, that she agreed to become his female. The girl believed that first they needed to get to know each other better. Austin transformed from a man to a lion. Amelia pulled herself together so as not to squeeze the lion into her arms and said that you couldn't bribe her with this. Where she comes from, only those who love each other become partners. The Lion King did not know what it was to love, but the girl explained that love is when an invisible connection arises between two people. They are constantly in each other's thoughts. Sometimes they are sad because of this, and sometimes they are endlessly happy. It began to rain in the cave. Amelia thought that it was because of her rain skill that rain clouds could form in caves, but she didn't understand what activated the skill this time. Austin was happy about the rain, but it was strange for him that he was only walking inside the cave. The lion hugged the girl. He was glad that she appeared in his life, because his tribe needed her so much. The guy covered Amelia with a skin so that she wouldn't catch a cold again. Austin asked the girl to hold the skin herself, since he needed to get to the village and bring people so that the donation would not be wasted. He left, and Amelia remained in her thoughts, which were connected with Austin. She convinced herself not to be tempted by his good attitude towards her. The king's heart was beating strongly, and he could not understand what this could be connected with. The villagers carried containers to collect water, discussing the new girl. Many began to believe that she really was a goddess. Amelia considered this place to be very primitive. The inhabitants did not make fires, ate raw meat, and even stored water inside the leaves. Austin approached the girl with the news that the priestess wanted to see her again. The priestess again took out her magic ball and repeated her ritual related to the presence of Amelia's magical powers. Amelia was amazed by the use of the magic ball, although the inhabitants of the tribe seemed primitive to her. But the priestess was completely different. Austin barely had time to cover the girl with himself when a magic stone exploded above them. The priestess was confused. The magic stone backfired. But the problem was that this stone had been passed down from generation to generation, and this had never happened before. The king was interested in the question of the presence of magical powers of his new companion. Ephikhlar thought that she was already too old to call upon the powers of the gods, But one thing she knew for sure was that Amelia was an unusual girl. After the priestess's words that luck and misfortune go hand in hand, Austen sincerely believed that she, calling rain for them over and over again, would become their great luck. Maya saw the female holding the hand of the Lion King. She was angry, not understanding when they managed to get so close and why the girl inspires such trust in him. One of the guys from the tribe tried to court Maya for a long time, but she was adamant, pushing him away every time. But now, she decided to take advantage of him, thereby getting rid of Amelia. Austen was busy for days with the problems of the tribe. Then they would turn to him for help in finding a child who had disappeared somewhere. Then he was resolving issues related to food and the like. Amelia was bored alone, but the king did not have time for her, since the leader had too many worries and troubles. In order not to disturb him again, she decided to return to the cave alone. And lately she had been getting the feeling more and more often that someone was watching her. Maya's messenger was indeed watching her, but he succeeded with difficulty, since Amelia was very vigilant, and this angered him, since he had to provide the result to his beloved. The guy thought about it. He urgently needed to figure out how to get rid of Amelia. An idea came to his mind. He called out to the girl and introduced himself to her. His name was Elliot. As a sign of gratitude, Elliot decided to collect mushrooms and give them to Amelia. Looking into the basket, the girl saw a mountain of poisonous mushrooms. She was scared that the guy didn't know about it and ate them all the time. Taking the mushroom, she said that it contains 2 types of poisons. After eating this mushroom, a person experiences nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, and diarrhea. After a couple of days, these symptoms disappear. But this is deceptive, since the toxins have already penetrated the organs, and it is possible even death. Elliot was shocked that Amelia knew everything about mushrooms, and his plan failed. He angrily pushed her. She fell to the ground, attacking the girl. Elliot said that since she knew too much about mushrooms, she would have to act in a different way. Elliot was going to finish off Amelia, but she had a cute face and not a bad figure. The guy felt sorry for killing her without doing anything, so he decided to enjoy her first. The girl hit him between the legs, and the terrible pain made him even angrier. There was a transformation into a dragon. Elliot was going to eat Amelia alive. She ran as fast as she could, but her strength was already running low. The settlement was far away. The girl began to worry that she would not have time to reach Austen. Stumbling over a stone, she fell, but the thought came into her head that the weak point of lizards is their eyes. Taking a handful of sand, she threw it at Elliot. He fell, hitting his head on the stone. The lizard was defeated, but Amelia still needed to get to the village. Her strength was leaving her. Not far from the settlement, she began to lose consciousness. Maya stepped on her hand, saying that now the girl's life is in her hands, and she dreams of her begging for mercy. Austen collected a whole leaf of various fruits for Amelia. He hoped that she was waiting for him in the cave and would be glad to have so much food. Not far from the cave, the guy noticed Elliot lying on the ground and immediately called the fox for help. After checking the cave and not finding Amelia there, Austen became worried because it was already late, so he went to look for her. Maya blocked his path, asking questions about the attack on Elliot. Seeing that Elliot had come to his senses, she rushed to him and began to whisper that the guy would blame Amelia for everything. He told the guy his legend that today he went to the mountains, shot several hares, collected fruits and mushrooms, and on the way back, he was stopped by the goddess, and he lost consciousness. Austen couldn't believe that Amelia hit him on the head in order to take everything he got. A rumor spread among the tribe that the goddess was not a goddess at all, but a spy from another tribe. Someone was on her side because it was Amelia who called rain for the residents. Someone, on the contrary, said that she tried to gain their trust by deception. But so far, no one knows what kind of trick the girl used to call rain. While passing by a group of girls discussing Amelia, the Lion King heard that they were talking about the incident with Elliot. Allegedly, she hit the guy on the head and took his prey. Austen still did not give up and continued to search for his chosen one, but after combing the territory of the entire tribe, he found her. Men from the tribe approached the leader and demanded to find Amelia. Since it was he who brought her, they were going to deal with her. The guy became gloomy. He didn't understand at what exact moment rumors began to spread that the girl was a spy. Austin was very angry when he learned about such rumors. He forbade the residents of the tribe to say such things until Amelia was found and explained everything. Having pushed everyone away, he went on a search, thinking that he needed to be the first to find the girl. Otherwise, if the rumor monger finds her first, then you never know what he can do to her. The leader came to the place where yesterday he found Elliot lying unconscious. Using his keen sense of smell, he smelled 2 types of blood. One of the smells belonged to Elliot, and the second to Amelia. It turns out that someone injured the girl in this place. The tracks were unclear, but if you examined them carefully, you could understand that they belonged to Amelia. An enraged Austin stormed into Elliot's cabin, calling him a liar. Grabbing him by the neck, the Lion King demanded to know what happened that day, since he found traces of Amelia's blood. Austin forced the guy to admit that he took on his animal form and chased the girl. Because of this, she fell and got hurt. Elliot almost confessed, but realized in time that he could say too much and continued to lie, looking into the leader's eyes. The Lion King slapped Elliot in the face. He didn't believe a single word he said. Since there was enough food in the lion's cave, there was no point in the girl stealing it. The priestess intervened in time, stopping Austin, because if he kills the guy, he will lose his only clue, especially since some time ago she checked Amelia's condition through a magic stone. She was still alive. The leader gave the guy one last chance to tell how everything really happened and where his chosen one is now. Finally, Elliot told the truth. The last thing he remembers is Amelia throwing sand in his eyes. After that, he didn't see anything, and the girl must have run into the settlement. Speaking to the residents of the tribe, the leader said that now they all know the truth, that no one sent Amelia to them. The residents, with their words, almost insulted the innocent. Now they are obliged to go in search of her. Amelia woke up in some kind of dungeon. She was incredibly hungry. She was thinking about stewed pork, pizza, and fruit. The last thing the girl wanted was to die of hunger. A bright light entered the girl's eyes, and someone entered the cave. She began to rave, repeating that the lord of the dungeon should not take her away. It was a worried Austin. Having picked up his chosen one, he was glad that he had finally found her. The girl's body was very exhausted. She had been starving for a long time. The leader blamed himself for everything. He had been looking for her for too long. The only way to get better faster, according to the fox, was the zingling flower. It calmed the mind and nourished the body, and if taken for some time, the body should recover. This flower grew only in the rocky forest, and there are too many wild animals, and foxes rarely go there, so he did not have a flower at hand. But the leader said that there was such a flower in the settlement, and he would go get it. Maya intervened in the conversation. A crowd of residents of the settlement stood behind her. She forbade the use of the flower. She was surprised that after so many days Amelia was still alive. But in such a case, she also had a second plan. Maya told the king that the girl spilled all the water stored in the cave. It was the water of their entire settlement. And if she was a goddess, then why did she do this to them? Voices of support were heard behind her. The crowd insisted that they did not believe that the goddess could do this to them, and that they would not tolerate the fact that the girl had wasted all their water supplies, and certainly would not share the zingling flower with her after that. The leader was angry. He did not believe that Amelia could spill all their water, and for that matter, Austin was going to go into the rocky forest and find the flower on his own. He left Amelia in the care of the fox, and gave instructions that if she woke up, then Oscar should give her something to eat from the supplies in his cave. Pushing Maya, Austin headed into the forest. Turning around, he told her that he hoped that she was now happy with what happened to Amelia. Maya was angry that the Lion King glared at her because of some female. She promised herself that she would find a way to kill her. After the leader left, Maya demanded that Oscar give them the female, since she had destroyed all the water supplies. The fox was not going to do this, but the girl said that since he didn't want to do it in a good way, then he would have to do it in a bad way and let him not complain later. She ordered the residents to grab Amelia. With a smile on his face, he took the girl in his arms and disappeared into his holes. Oscar's holes were too dangerous. They were full of traps, so Maya ordered not to go further, since there was no point in taking risks for the sake of this deceased woman. The fox never thought that the tunnel he dug a couple of days ago would come in handy so soon. Oscar leaned over Amelia's face and whispered that she should wake up and thank him for saving her. When the girl woke up, the fox was overjoyed. He grabbed her hand and squeezed it tightly. Amelia looked around, not understanding where she was and why Oscar was in front of her and not Austin, because before she lost consciousness, she saw him. The fox put his finger to Amelia's lips, not allowing her to say a word, believing that first she needed to eat, but not too much, since she couldn't eat too much at once. Oscar asked the girl what she wanted to eat. She wanted soup or porridge, but the fox didn't even know those words, let alone what it was. Smiling, Amelia decided that she would first eat some fruit, and then teach the fox how to cook soup and porridge. In order not to waste time, the girl decided to teach Oscar how to make fire. When he finally succeeded, he transformed into a fox and jumped into her lap. He was happy that he managed to get the sacred fire. At that moment, Austin returned. Seeing what was happening, he bared his teeth at the fox, believing that he had again thought of something about his female. Oscar was worried that the Lion King might not find the way to his cave, so he left marks leading to this place. But he can't think that Austin will find them so quickly and interrupt his stay with Amelia. The leader warned for the last time that Amelia was his female, and he did not intend to share her with anyone. The desert fox pretended not to hear him. He did not consider the girl to be the female leader, since she did not give him consent to this. Suddenly, Amelia's body became very heavy, and her chest contracted so much that it was difficult for her to breathe. But she still had the strength to cry out that she belonged to no one but herself. Austin quickly gave her a Zingling flower, and after eating it, the girl immediately felt a little better. Amelia realized that it didn't seem to her that it was the Lion King who saved her and locked up the beast that attacked her, but she still didn't understand one thing who dragged her into the cave and spilled all the water. Putting aside all these thoughts for a while, she decided to treat Austin's wound, which he received when he was looking for Zingling flowers. The wound was too deep. It needed to be treated urgently. Otherwise, it could become infected. The girl asked the desert fox for antiseptic herbs to quickly disinfect the wound, but the fox did not understand a single word she said. Amelia understood from his look that he did not know this, because in their world there are no such concepts, and it would be difficult to explain what it is. She remembered that she saw Skullcap in the morning near Austin's cave. Skullcap had a disinfecting effect, and Tyon helped stop bleeding. Half an hour later, the fox brought everything he needed. He found the plants right where Amelia said. When Oscar returned, the guys were sitting around the fire. Austin couldn't get enough of the sacred fire. The moment Amelia put the herbs in boiling water, the guys froze in surprise. The girl explained to them that in this way, she would prepare the medicine, and when Austin took it, the wound would stop bleeding and heal. The desert fox was amazed by her knowledge. He knew much more than that and also understood healing. He grabbed Amelia by the hand and began to beg her to become his teacher. The girl was dumbfounded. The fox believed that even though Amelia refused to be his female, being her student was also not bad, especially since no one forbade the student and teacher from hugging. Austin grabbed Oscar by the fur and told him not to dare to rub against his female anymore. A mission appeared in front of Amelia and congratulated her on unlocking the function of the plant in prison. The girl grabbed the mission. She was angry with her for pretending not to hear her when Amelia's life was hanging by a thread. And now that she was saved, the mission appears as if nothing had happened. Although she was a system, she was not omnipotent. She could not directly interfere in Amelia's life and decide what to do next. Everything depended only on the girl herself. The mission handed Amelia a ball with a plant and advised her to quickly activate this function. Having touched the ball, the girl was illuminated by rays of bright light. Amelia had a plant atlas in front of her. She can store known types of plants in it, and now she can place Skullcap there and store it until she needs it. It was possible to acquire not only new skills, but also discover new functions of the system. Many more surprises awaited the girl in the future. While in prison, Elliot thought about Maya. He hoped that she would not suffer the same fate as him. The bars of the dungeon opened and Maya entered. The girl stunned the guards and came to save Elliot, since Austin was obsessed with Amelia and could execute the guy because of her. Maya told the guy to run into the desert and find Harold there. She and Austin didn't get along, and he would immediately accept the guy as soon as he found out that he had abandoned the Lion King. And to prove this, Elliot must say that the leader has a goddess who can call for rain. Maya considered her plan ideal, because if Harold found out about this, the Western tribe would definitely come for her. Given Austin's character, he would never give her up voluntarily. Returning to the settlement, children ran up to the Lion King and began to ask how he alone went into the rocky forest for the singling flower. Smiling, the leader patted the child on the head and said that he was wounded. But thanks to the goddess, everything was fine with him, and his wound had healed. The children were delighted that the goddess could not only cause rain, but also heal wounds. A crowd of handcuffed people walked past the boys. It was Elliot's mother and sister. The girl said that last night Elliot escaped from prison. Someone helped him by stunning 2 guards. Everyone was so angry that they decided to take his mother and sister into custody. Everyone wants them to atone for his sins. Amelia did not understand why the guy's relatives had to atone for his sins. Austin explained that his mother was to blame for not being able to raise him properly, and his sister was unable to stop her brother. The leader believed that the father did not bear any responsibility for raising his son, since most of the time he was hunting. Amelia decided to challenge his words, because in her country, it was believed that the father was responsible for raising his children. She was going to stop it, since Elliot attacked her specifically, and she wasn't even allowed to say a word. Austin tried to stop her, worried that she had not yet recovered properly. Observing the situation, Oscar considered Amelia's words rational, but he did not fully understand why the father should be responsible for upbringing. The crowd bayed for blood, shouting words of punishment against Elliot's relatives. Maya ordered everyone to calm down, saying that since Elliot had escaped, his mother and sister would have to pay for his sins, and from that day on, they would be considered captives and should be punished and rewarded with children so that they could atone for their sins and breathe new life tribe. This ceremony was interrupted by Amelia running up, shouting that she objected. Maya was not at a loss at that moment, but said that Amelia was just in time because she was the sinner who spilled their water. The girl began to justify herself, since she did not spill the water, and when she woke up, the water had already been spilled. Maya did not want to listen to her, since the latter had no evidence, so she gave the order to grab Amelia and tie her to a pole. The girl was jubilant with victory, because no one except her knew that it was Maya herself who spilled all the water. Austin appeared out of nowhere. He stood in front of Amelia, thereby protecting her. He believed that in this case no one would dare to touch her. Maya believed that the girl should atone for her guilt, and if she is a goddess, then let her call it rain right now and replenish all their water supplies. Amelia thought that although she is not a goddess, she can make rain, and if with the status of a goddess she can save the innocent, then so be it. A system appeared. She liked the girl's way of thinking, but there was one problem. At the moment, the rain skill was on cooldown, which means it was temporarily unavailable. After touching Austin, Amelia publicly stated that she would give the tribe rain, but not now, since she needs to absorb enough spiritual power from heaven and earth to bring rain, because the last call of rain has drained her strength, and it will take some time before she can do it again. Maya insisted on her own. She argued that it was unknown how long it might take to accumulate enough spiritual power, but there was no water in the tribe, and the inhabitants could die of thirst. The leader reassured everyone by saying that the rainy season would begin next month, and before that time he would go to Izet and return with supplies of water. The residents immediately softened. They agreed that if there was water, they would have no complaints. The desert fox didn't understand why Amelia was so protective of Elliot's sister and mother, but she didn't agree with the punishment Maya gave them. She was very scared, but she did not deviate from her plan and ordered their immediate release. Hope appeared in the girl's eyes. The inhabitants of the tribe punished traitors in this way, and they, led by May, believed that Amelia did not have the right to establish her own rules. With confidence in her voice, the girl said, "Since she is a goddess, she has the right to vote, especially since this type of punishment is a tradition of the tribe, does not mean that this is the right path. She was sent to the tribe to change the current state of affairs and eradicate injustice. Only Elliot is to blame for what happened, and his family has nothing to do with it," Amelia said. She was already furious because she could understand why men were not outraged by injustice, because they were pursuing their own selfish goals, but how a woman could so easily leave people like her to be torn to pieces. Turning to the residents of the tribe, she asked if they were afraid of the same fate they had prepared for Elliot's mother and sister. In conclusion, Amelia ordered that if they are afraid that no one will be punished, then let them find the culprit and leave the woman and child alone. The reason why the girl absorbs spiritual power so slowly is because of the cruelty, stupidity, and ignorance of the tribe's residents. The residents agreed with Amelia. They believed that women should not experience such cruel treatment, and the goddess came to help them. One of the inhabitants of the tribe jumped out of the crowd. He threw an axe at the girl, saying that soon he would finally be able to enjoy the bodies of the girls, and could not leave it just like that, since they must pay for their sins and give birth to children. Amelia was numb. Austin quickly reacted and knocked down the axe. He was furious that someone could encroach on the life of the goddess. The desert fox exhaled that everything was fine with Amelia, and she was delighted with the leader. He looked majestic. It was not for nothing that the girl brought him a bow and arrows. Pointing an arrow towards the inhabitants, he said that no one was allowed to touch Amelia. Did the words of the leader really mean nothing to them? Having fired an arrow into the attacker's leg, Austin gave a final warning. Otherwise, the arrow would no longer be in the leg. The Lion King spoke to the tribe, repeating Amelia's words that because of their sinful tradition, the tribe was not blessed enough by the rains. Raising the hand of the goddess, he announced that from this day on, everyone is responsible only for their own actions, and the family of the sinner will not pay for him. The crowd supported the goddess, but there were also dissatisfied ones who lost their prey because of Amelia. The girl was happy. She achieved everything she wanted. But thanks to Austin, she would not have been able to do this alone. Amelia thanked the Lion King for his trust and for always supporting her. Maya frowned. She couldn't believe that this female had convinced everyone with just a few words. The girls were untied, and they rushed to hug Amelia and thank her. The girl assured them that if anyone dared to offend their mother and sister, they could turn to her or the leader, and the culprit would definitely be punished. A cry was heard from the crowd. A resident of the Arya tribe was giving birth. In Austin's tribe, the birth of a child was considered a great event at which the leader should be present. He was about to head to the priestess's hut. Amelia tagged along with him. The priestess stood over the woman in labor and prayed. The goddess was shocked by what she saw, because if you just stand and pray, the child may not be born at all. The girl lost consciousness. The desert fox tried to help, but the priestess stopped him, saying that most likely the child no longer belonged to their tribe, and someone had cursed them. Amelia was indignant that the priestess so easily abandoned the woman in labor and the child, so she decided to take everything into her own hands and help the child be born. Austin approved of her initiative, as he believed that it was better to let her try to help than to just stand and watch. The fox also supported, since all past attempts had failed, and maybe it was the goddess who would fix everything. Amelia asked the Lion King to bring fruit, since Arya would need to restore her strength, and asked Oscar to give her the herbs he brought, as well as a knife, skin, and hot water. The desert fox was worried. He could still understand why the skin and the knife were needed, but he didn't understand what the hot water was for, since the places where the fires were kept were too far away, and he was afraid of not making it in time. Grabbing Oscar's face, Amelia asked him to remember everything she taught him. Residents stood near the priestess's hut and discussed the current situation. They noticed a fox running out of the room. Seeing how Oscar summoned the sacred fire, the inhabitants of the settlement froze with their mouths open. He was proud of himself, saying that it was the goddess who taught him how to summon the sacred fire. The residents clapped their hands with joy. They were going to immediately bow to the goddess and ask for forgiveness for their rudeness. The leader blocked their path and asked them not to do this now, since the goddess was fighting for the life of the child and should not be disturbed. Amelia managed to bring the girl to her senses. She insisted that Arya eat an apple, as she needed to gain strength. Oscar arrived in time with a vat of heated water, but this water was not enough, and the girl sent the leader to bring more. The goddess gave instructions. The priestess had to constantly wipe Arya with hot water to speed up the opening of the uterus, and the desert fox had to rub the points that she would show in order to calm the woman in labor and ease her pain a little. Everything worked out for Amelia. The child was born. Everything was fine with the girl. She was absolutely healthy. The goddess redistributed the child to the mother. The leader praised the girl for doing a good job stroking her face. The inhabitants of the settlement fell to their knees before Amelia. They begged for forgiveness for their ignorance in the past, but now they were completely at her disposal. The girl was confused by what she saw, but deep down she liked it, because now her status would change. Remembering that the residents of the settlement were interested in making fire, and she offered to teach them how to do it in different ways, the crowd was happy. The priestess provided the goddess with a knife and asked her to carve all the methods in stone so that they could master them all day by day. Amelia handed over the newly born girl to the leader. He smiled, imagining their life together with the goddess and the children they might have. 15 minutes later, she finished, and to make it clearer for the residents, the girl drew visual drawings of how to make fire. Austin was interested in one question. What does this drawing mean? Amelia remembered another way to obtain water in the desert: evaporation. First, you had to find a place where the sun's rays always hit, then dig a hole in that place and place a container for water there, then cover the hole with a large sheet and secure it with stones. And at the end, you need to place another stone on the sheet so that it stretches the surface. And that's it. Drops of water fell into the container. Austin did not hide his surprise at what he saw and heard. Amelia explained that there would not be as much water as they wanted, but this method would save them in case of urgent need. The goddess also drew how exactly to give birth and care for women after it. Since postpartum care is very important for restoring a woman's body, the girl was confident in the priestess's ability to quickly learn everything. The crowd began to shout words of gratitude and praise to the goddess. Her soul felt very warm. She caught herself thinking that for those who understand science, moving through worlds is not scary. When Maya heard that Amelia had decided to deliver Arya, she thought that she would definitely fail, but the girl did not expect that she would not only not fail, but would also win everyone's love. A new plan came into her head. If the goddess was desecrated by several people at once, then the leader would definitely abandon her. Having said goodbye to the crowd, the guys discussed the leader's trip to Azet for water. The desert fox was against this, since Azet was captured by Harold, and it was dangerous to go there. The Lion King was going to make good on his promise. Even though Amelia had solved the urgent need for water, Austin still needed to provide the tribe with water. Tomorrow morning he was going to set off and invited the goddess to go with him. She agreed with great pleasure. The leader reassured her that he would protect her. When Amelia was locked in the water storage, she found green beads there. This small type of stone must be very valuable for the desert. The girl suspected that they belonged to the one who locked her there. Oscar had seen these beads earlier, and Maya wore a necklace made from them. Amelia was going to talk to the girl before leaving for Azet. So as not to create any more problems, Austin decided to go with her. They had time until the morning to search. The desert fox remembered that in order for it to rain, the goddess needs to absorb the spiritual power of heaven and earth, and if there is some way to speed up the process, then they will not have to go to such a dangerous place. She blushed. The girl could not admit that her skill was currently suspended, so she said that there was no such way. More precisely, there was one way, but everything connected with intimacy with Austin embarrassed her very much. The leader believed that even though Amelia could make it rain, they could not always rely on her. He, as a leader, must be able to independently provide for his tribe. Austin promised that one day the time would definitely come when the western part of the desert would turn into an oasis. He was even ready to try to dig a tunnel from the river to their settlement. Amelia realized that the Lion King's dream coincided with the task given to her by the system. The goddess had information that the eastern, western, southern, and northern tribes had their own treasures, and if they were combined, the goddess of water would arrive and turn the entire desert into an oasis. The guys shook their heads. They had not heard anything about the treasures, but were ready to ask the residents of the settlement. Looking at the green bead, Amelia thought about Austin and Oscar, who went to prepare skins and provisions for the morning. Suddenly, she heard a sound. Getting up to see who came, the girl fell into the hanging net. It's good that after that incident with Elliot, she began to carry a knife with her, which she used to cut the mesh and get out. Amelia saw Maya in front of her. As soon as she realized that she had been declassified, she said that now the goddess would not live. She swung a spear at Amelia, but the girl parried her blow, knocking Maya to the ground, pressing the stick of the spear to her throat. At that moment, Austin returned. Taking advantage of the situation, Maya began to beg the leader to save her, since Amelia wants to kill her. The goddess was furious at such accusations. She believed that the girl had already gone too far. Austin trusted Amelia without a doubt, asked her to stand up, and said that he would sort everything out himself. Maya began to cry. She did not expect such an outcome, because in her opinion, the leader should be on her side. Kneeling down in front of her, he said that if it weren't for her father, who had him in the desert, he would have been there and died. The Lion King always wanted to properly repay him for this. The leader wiped the tears from Maya's eyes and continued that this is why he always pampered her and forgave her for small offenses. Perhaps it was because of his kindness that the girl grew up so arrogant and managed to offend Amelia several times. Anger appeared on the Lion King's face. He said that Amelia was his woman and the girl's older sister, and he would not allow her to be harmed. Maya continued to lie, but Austin cut her short, because it was he who taught her to weave the kind of nets that she used during the attack, and pieces of her necklace were found in the cave for storing water. The girl continued to claim that it was not her, since if she told the truth, the entire tribe would turn away from her. Maya decided to throw all the blame on Elliot, saying that a couple of days ago she saw Elliot pour out all their water supplies and was about to go tell her brother about it when the guy threatened to make her one of his females. Elliot also ordered to place all the blame on Amelia, which is why she had to do so, especially with the appearance of the goddess. The leader began to take care of her. This angered Maya. Austin was convinced that this did not justify the girl's behavior, which is why she should apologize to Amelia, promise not to do this again, and tell the whole truth to the tribe. The girl had to agree, since the leader promised to stop treating her as a sister and thereby turn away from her. Having apologized to Amelia, Maya expressed a desire to go with them to fetch water in Azet, thereby making amends. But in her heart, the girl pursued another goal, to be closer to Austin. The leader considered this a good offer and decided that tomorrow morning he and Amelia would be the first to go in search of other sources of water, and Maya, along with other members of the tribe, would go to Azet for water. Maya had to agree, although she was unhappy, but otherwise she would have angered Austin. Getting up early in the morning, Amelia and Austin decided to hit the road, but the girl was worried about how they would get there. In a second, the leader transformed into a lion and ordered his companion to climb onto it. The girl could not believe her luck, and that someday in her life she would have to ride a lion. Amelia began to hug the lion and admire his thick mane, thick tail, soft fur, and her favorite ears. Austin thought about what the girl liked, since she spent a very long time touching his sensitive places and stroking him. They set off. The girl was beside herself with happiness and the speed of the Lion King. A few days later, the city of Azet. After a long time spent in the desert, Amelia was surprised to see a large number of people. Her companion explained that Azet is one of the few cities in the West that is washed by a river. In addition to this, on the other side of the river is the southern city of the Acropolis. So Azet became a major trading center between the West and the South. Now it became clear to Amelia why this city looks much more civilized than the settlement she found herself in. After staring, the girl almost knocked down the stranger, who shouted at her to watch where she was going. Amelia began to apologize when the stranger immediately changed his face. The stranger was struck by the beauty of the girl and immediately invited her to become his woman, despite the fact that his wife and 2 children stood behind him. The girl was beside herself with rage. She could not understand how a man who has a wife and children could hit on another, especially in their presence. At the same second, Austin approached Amelia, putting his arm around her waist. He told the stranger that this was his woman, and he was the only one she needed, so he should get out of here immediately. Once again, the leader said that she was his woman, and this time the goddess no longer resisted, and her heart began to beat wildly after these words. Taking her hand, they walked on, Austin warning his companion that she should stay away from these smelly males. A conflict broke out in the market. Its participants were Klaus, the owner of the market, and a guy who owed him a skin for a place in the market, since according to the terms of trade, every day was worth 1 skin. These few days were unsuccessful for the guy. Instead of the skin, he suggested that the owner take stones. Klaus kicked the stones and they scattered. He didn't need them, believing that if you don't have a skin, then there's no place in the market, and such weaklings are not needed here. Having pushed the guy with all his strength, he fell right in front of Amelia. The girl noticed the stones. They were the legendary diamonds called pigeon eggs. This guy definitely did not know about their value. Amelia helped the guy get up. The market owner, who was watching, drooled on the girl. Coming very close to her, Klaus said that this loser did not deserve her attention, but he was really rich and powerful, and would she like to visit his house? Austin came to the girl's aid, grabbed the guy by the hand, and asked him how he had the courage to touch his girlfriend. Klaus was surprised to see Austin in front of him. He rushed with all his might to report the appearance of the Lion King on Harold's lands. Amelia offered to seize this guy so that he would not have time to report, but the leader did not consider this necessary, since he had already been noticed by many. Since this was Harold's territory, sooner or later they would still clash. It was inevitable. Austin took out the skin and offered to exchange it for a stone, which the unknown guy offered to the market owner. But the stranger gave it away just like that in gratitude for his help. But the Lion King insisted on his own and gave the skin, since he was not trying to help this guy, but was just protecting his girlfriend. Austin gave the stone to Amelia in gratitude for the fact that she went with him, especially since he saw how much she liked the stone. She was happy and thought about who wouldn't like a 10-carat diamond. She should definitely take it with her when she goes to her world. The leader was called out by a resident of his tribe. They had already arrived in Aze to exchange skins for water. Amelia did not see Maya among them, who was supposed to lead them, but the guys said that she had a friend in Izet whom she would like to meet, so only when she reached the city did she leave. Crowley's palace. Maya met with an old acquaintance. It was Elliot. At one time, she gave him instructions, and he now lives in Azet and does not need anything. The girl asked to arrange a meeting with Crowley. She needed him to help her deal with Amelia. Elliot brought Maya to Crowley's room. 2 girls were lying next to him. But when he saw the stranger, he was not averse to a third one. Crowley, lord of the city of Izeth. The ruler was introduced to the girl as the daughter of the previous leader of the tribe he was talking about. Maya was annoyed that he looked at her like that, because her heart belonged only to Austin. The guest began her story about the goddess of rain, about which the ruler had probably already heard a lot from Elliot. Now the goddess was in Azet and could easily be captured. Approaching the girl, Crowley said that of course he would grab the rain goddess, but there was no need to be in such a hurry. He was amazed by the beauty of Maya. It is not surprising that Elliot turned his life upside down for her. The ruler wanted to take her for himself. Brushing Crowley aside, she said that she was a noble woman of her tribe, and they would have already executed him. The Lord kissed her. He didn't care what he did in her tribe, because they are now in Aze, and here he is a god, and those who do not realize this should be punished. Maya tried to break free and called Austin for help. This time, they were able to get a lot more water, and they no longer had to worry about water supplies. The tribe's residents were about to go home. Amelia looked around and saw a crowd approaching them, led by the same market owner. Austin instructed one of the guys from his tribe to take the goddess away while he distracted them. The girl was worried about the leader, because this was the territory of those guys. He calmed her down and asked her to wait and be smart. Klaus ordered that Austin be captured so that they could present him to the Lord. The Lion King was confident in his abilities, so he went towards the crowd alone. Having dealt with everyone, the leader put a spear to the throat of the market owner. But he said that if he died, then Maya, who was now with the ruler, would also die. Outside Izeth, the tribesmen and Amelius were waiting for Austin. The girl heard footsteps behind her. She turned, expecting to see the Lion King, but Elliot stood in front of her. Amelia was thrown into prison. In front of her stood the same guy who sold diamonds at the market. He did not expect to see a girl here. He introduced himself. His name was Eric. The guy asked where the goddess's companion was, but it was a long story. Eric promised to be sure to get Amelia out, since at night the local guards fall asleep, and he will return to animal form and bring a knife. The guy turned into a white-tailed jay. Jays were very small, but the goddess could not transform and would definitely be noticed. Amelia noticed a cactus and an idea came to her mind. It was, of course, very risky, but she had to try. Everything was ready. In the girl's hands were cactus spines soaked in the juice of the white dope flower, which has soporific and hallucinogenic properties. Fortunately, the local guards didn't understand this at all, so they didn't take away what Amelia managed to collect along the way. The goddess threw the thorns and they hit the guard's neck. When the guard fell to the ground dead, Eric simply had no words for what he saw. Izetta Palace. The palace guards were discussing new gossip, that today the Lord was given a new red-haired girl from a tribe in the desert, and right now the Lord is enjoying her. Amelia immediately understood that they were talking about Maya, but she did not understand how the girl could get here. The goddess told Eric to get out alone, and she still has things to do here, even though Maya did bad things to her. But she is obliged to help her, especially since Austin is probably here too. The guy with a serious face said that he would go with her. The more people there are, the greater the chances of winning. Of course, he was not as strong as the Lion King, but if someone wanted to offend Amelia, he would turn into a bird and peck them. After half an hour, the search for Maya was unsuccessful. The palace was too huge. Amelia was very angry with the ruler. She considered him a scumbag and simply an incredible bastard. Eric knew all this, because there were always many females around the ruler. He took them away and made them his against their will. The guys discovered a place where the females were kept. Many were lying unconscious. One of them, seeing Eric and Amelia, asked for help, saying that Crowley had imprisoned them here. The girl was glad that they found them and freed them. Now the girls will be able to escape. Eric and Amelia discovered the last room in this palace. Having said goodbye, the rescued captive thanked them and warned that all the girls who were kidnapped by Crowley were guarded on this floor. If the one they were looking for was not there, then most likely Crowley would torture her to death. Amelia opened the door to the room, hoping that Maya was still alive. Maya lay on the floor and swore that she would kill Crowley. The Lord lay on her, holding her. He kissed her forcefully, with the confidence that she was powerless before him. Amelia released cactus spines into his neck, and the Lord turned to look at the uninvited guests. With tears in her eyes, Maya could not believe that the goddess was trying to save her. It seemed to her that Amelia was only glad to see her in this state. Crowley pulled out the thorns and, with a grin on his face, was glad that the same goddess of rain had come to him, although he wanted to enjoy her after Maya, but changed his mind. Amelia froze. She couldn't understand why the juice didn't work on him. Grabbing the goddess by the face, he said that now the two of them can serve him, and it will be much more fun. The girl tried to attack him, but Crowley grabbed her hand. Maya also tried to be rude at first, but now she was submissive to him. Approaching her, he advised Amelia to also be submissive, and then she would not suffer. The Lion King appeared out of nowhere, pounced on the ruler, and demanded that he take his dirty hands off his girl. There were bleeding wounds all over Austin's body. Amelia could not imagine what he had to go through. Crowley was glad to see his enemy. He never ceased to amaze him, because even the torture chamber, which the ruler had so carefully built, could not hold the Lion King. Austin ordered the girls to run away, and he attacked the ruler. The guards arrived. Crowley ordered to seize the girls and prevent them from escaping. Elliot walked up to Maya. She looked shabby, and he always considered her a proud female. He told the girl that all this time she had been taking advantage of what he liked. even forcing her to take all the blame on herself and leave her home. And only she was to blame for what was happening to her now. As soon as the Lord gets tired of Maya, then so be it. He will reluctantly accept her for himself, Elliot said. Amelia shielded the girl with herself, trying to protect her. Licking his hand, the guy was surprised by this act, because it was Maya who asked him to attack her. The goddess knew everything, so she was the one who was going to decide what punishment the girl would receive. Amelia believed that many women simply physically would not be able to withstand the onslaught of a man, which is why it was so important for them to support and help each other. And now she was not defending Maya, but the woman who was being abused. In this case, Elliot decided that then the goddess would have to serve the ruler, and then him. A bird flew into the room and attacked the guy. It was Eric who came to the aid of his new friend. Elliot ordered the females to be captured, and he was going to eat this little bird that appeared out of nowhere. Amelia did not know how to save her friend. A system has appeared with a friendly reminder that the thunderstorm skill has already rolled back. The girl wanted to urgently use her skill, but the skill did not work that way. It was not enough to simply shout the word thunderstorm. The goddess imagined herself with Austin. Lightning struck. But it's good that no one will know what was going on in the girl's head at that moment. Elliot was struck down by lightning. The girls she saved appeared in front of Amelia. They were very grateful to her and came to her aid. The girls held the defense as best they could, but their strength was not enough to defeat Elliot and his minions. Amelia rushed to the aid of a little bird that fell dead right in front of her. It was her new friend Eric, but everything worked out, and Eric was alive. There was a life-and-death struggle between Austin and Crowley. The eagle bit off the lion's skin in pieces. There was blood everywhere. Amelia was very worried about Austin, but she could not help him, since the use of lightning was still inaccessible. All she could do was tell him to attack Crowley from behind, to pull out all the feathers from his back, since that was his weak point. Crowley could not understand how the girl found out about his weak point. After listening to Amelia, Austin realized that this was his chance, now or never. The girls grabbed Amelia and Maya, and shouting that they couldn't stay here any longer, they rushed away. The female could not leave Austin in trouble and screamed at him to run after them. The lion bit off most of the feathers from the eagle's back. The eagle flew away with its last strength. This time it was defeated. Out of city, they still managed to escape and leave victory behind them. The leader was met by people from his tribe. They were glad that they saw him alive again. Amelia and Maya ran up to Austin. The leader lay barely alive. There were many wounds on his body. The goddess examined the wounds and said that, fortunately, these few deep wounds were not fatal, especially since Crowley was in no condition to chase them now, so he needed to find some quiet place and rest. A few hours after the incident, Amelia found some useful herbs nearby. Among them was sea buckthorn, which promotes wound healing. The king began to moan. The girl was afraid that she had hurt him and began to apologize to him. She asked him to be patient while she quickly finished treating the wounds. Austin woke up and took Amelia by the face. He was very glad to see her. The girl reassured him that everything was fine and they were completely safe, but she couldn't help but ask the question that worried her. What happened when they left, and why he returned to the palace all wounded? When the Lion King found out that Crowley had kidnapped Maya, he immediately rushed to her aid. But they foresaw everything and caught him in a trap. And when he escaped the trap and burst into the hall, he saw the goddess. Austin said. The girl was defiantly offended that the leader came to save Maya, and she ended up in the company. The lion immediately began to make excuses that everything was wrong, and she was very important to him. But Maya's father saved and raised him as his own son. He could just sit back, knowing that Maya had been kidnapped. Laughing, the goddess said that she was just joking. She really wasn't angry with him, and was glad that the leader was so energetic. Amelia understood everything, because Crowley kidnapped Maya, and the leader came to her aid. She would have done the same. Maya sat and thought. She had set Amelia up so many times, and she still came to her aid, knowing that she herself might be in trouble. Other captives told her that the goddess went around the entire palace to find her. She did not understand why she did this arrived. Amelia was very hungry, and when she heard the smell of fried meat, she immediately exploded with joy. She started shouting to Maya to join the dinner and call the others. Maya dissatisfiedly went to call the others. She didn't like that Amelia was giving her orders. Those gathered were delighted with the barbecue. Everyone thanked Amelia. While finishing the piece, the girl said that if she had seasonings, she could marinate the meat overnight, and it would turn out even tastier and juicier. But unfortunately, seasonings could only be looked for after returning to the settlement. Austin was saddened. The goddess approached him, and taking his hand, began to tell him that while he was not with them, she heard something. To summarize, she heard that in the southwest there was a large rift valley, and perhaps there they could find a new source, water. The Lion King confirmed that there is such a valley in the southwest, but he did not have time to explore it properly. But if she wants, then they can go look. If they do find the source, then this will save not only their tribe, but also the entire western part. The girl smiled. She didn't know what was bothering Austin so much, but she was glad that she could cheer him up at least a little. A few days later, the Rift Valley was a rather dangerous place, so the king decided to explore it together with Amelia and sent the rest back to the settlement. Maya then told the goddess not to delude herself too much, since Austin only stays with her for a while, and when they return, he will become hers again. Laughing, Amelia agreed. Of course he would become hers, because he was her brother. Maya was furious. She was grateful to the goddess that she had come to her aid, but the girl was again convinced that she was a vile girl. She hated her. Eric also decided to say goodbye to his savior. He had been away from home for too long. The guy should have returned back. He asked to hug Amelia, because he was not sure whether they would see each other again. The goddess was very glad that she met Eric. Hugging the guy tightly, she assured that they would certainly meet again and invited him to visit their tribe. Austin stood and watched this scene. The king was clearly unhappy that the goddess was being hugged by someone other than him. The girl began to spin around him. She thought that the lion was in pain, but he tried to convince her that he had already fully recovered. The leader abruptly pulled Amelia towards him. He also wanted to hug her. The girl laughed. She understood why the king behaved this way. He was just jealous. She thought it was very cute. Austin and his companion arrived at their destination. He saw puddles of water everywhere, and the question immediately arose whether it had really rained here recently. Having looked carefully, Amelia realized that these were not puddles. The girl took a cobblestone and threw it into the supposed puddle. She was convinced of her fears. There was a deserted swamp there. In this area, groundwater flowed underwater, which is why a swamp was formed. To put it simply, there is water under a small layer of sand, but if you get in there, it will be very difficult to get out because of the wet sand. Finally, the king understood why the stone simply sank into the sand. He was only interested in one thing, whether they could collect water from this swamp. His companion said that they could, but this is not necessary. Since groundwater passes through here, the point is that there must be a river next. They need to go through this swamp. They walked very carefully, since they had to be as careful as possible, choose harder ground and not step on soft ground. Amelia and Austin were overtaken by toxic smoke. The leader ordered the girl to cover her nose, since he had already encountered such smoke. The girl grabbed his hand. They were among the poisonous fumes. They had to leave immediately. But since they were in the middle of the swamp, all they could do was speed up and entrust their lives to the will of heaven. After half an hour, they finally got out, but Amelia was very dizzy. Although Austin looked healthy, his body had still not recovered. It was difficult for him to resist the effects of toxic fumes. Near such fumes, there are almost always herbs with an antidote. Amelia kissed the leader on the forehead and asked him to wait for her. She would return soon. She found the herbs she needed. Now she needed to get back to Austin as quickly as possible. Turning around, the girl saw a huge snake, which with its mouth open was moving straight towards her. Amelia began to scream that she did not know that this was her territory, and she was just looking for grass, begging to be spared. After a few seconds, she realized that the python looked very weak. Its old skin was stuck on it. Apparently, it had been living like this for quite a long time. Approaching the python, she offered him an agreement. She would help him remove his old skin, and in return the snake would let her go. The mammal ignored her. Amelia could not understand him. The python looked so unhappy, and he stretched out his tail with old skin, but she decided that if it would save her, then it was worth the risk. The tail got stuck during molting due to the fact that the surface became too dry. The goddess had very little water left, but she still tried to help him remove the old skin. After 20 minutes, the snake's old skin had almost softened. Amelia began to hold the old skin and told the python to try to break out of it. It turned out that Mr. Python coped with everything perfectly. The goddess thought that she was used to the fact that the inhabitants of this world are able to take the form of animals. But it turned out that no. It was too unexpected for her, since a naked, handsome man stood in front of Amelia. I pulled her up by the chin. The stranger asked why she was closing her eyes. Was she really afraid that he would eat her? In the end, he added that she should not worry, since he is not interested in weaklings. Python asked the name of his savior. After Amelia introduced herself, she asked him what to call him, but the stranger said that weaklings are not worthy of calling his name. The guy turned out to be too strange. He told the goddess that he did not like to be in debt to someone, since she helped him. She could ask him for anything. For example, he could become her male and protect her for the rest of his days. Amelia tried to politely decline, saying that he didn't have to put his life on the line for help. The stranger realized that perhaps his savior already had a male, and he was too jealous to share her with someone else. The goddess immediately thought of Austin. The girl said that she didn't need anything. She helped him just like that, and now it was time for her to go, as urgent matters awaited her. Python grabbed her hand, not intending to let go. If he said he would repay, then he had to repay. The guy intended to see Amelia off, since there are many dangerous animals here. Having reached Austin, the girl gave him some grass to drink that she managed to collect. Looking at the leader, the python asked why Amelia needed such a helpless male who was waiting for her to help him. These words angered Amelia. She did not consider Austin weak, explaining to the stranger that he had only recently recovered from the severe wounds he received in battle, and then inhaled toxic fumes. At that moment, the girl realized that she liked the Lion King, but she did not belong to this world, and she was destined to leave here, so there was no point in falling in love. When Austin woke up, the girl rushed to his side to make sure he was okay. Hugging his savior, the king guiltily asked for forgiveness for the fact that he should have protected her, and not vice versa. Their scene was interrupted by a python coughing. Turning his attention to the stranger, Austin's face immediately changed. He angrily rushed to meet him to find out who he was. The stranger confidently told the leader that he was too weak to know his name. The atmosphere between these two became considerably tense. Amelia tried to somehow diffuse the situation and calm the two down, calling both of them her friends. And in the end, they were in the same boat, so they had to take care of each other. Austin pulled the girl towards him, saying that he was not just her friend, but her male. And this stranger was a stranger. The python began to pull out Amelia's hand, saying that if he was not even able to protect her, then what kind of male he was. He was clearly not suitable for this role. The girl became angry, breaking free. She began to scream that if they did not stop pulling her, she would turn away from both. The guys gave up, going for reconciliation. Amelia was happy. There should have been a source of water ahead that they were looking for, so she offered to go there together and check everything. The goddess was fascinated by the beautiful view. In front of them was a waterfall. They actually found a source of water. The python did not even know that such a place existed here. Without washing for several days, Amelia wanted to swim in it. The water was so refreshing and pleasant, as if it gave strength to the girl. While she was swimming, the guys were surrounded by some horned creatures. This was their territory, and all the males who entered this territory must serve their leader. The horned ones rushed in a flock at the guys to grab them and take them to the leader. Amelia swam, sang songs without even suspecting anything. Some young guy noticed her clothes, thinking that some female had wandered into the sacred spring by mistake. Seeing the stranger, the goddess began to shout at him to get out of here. The young man froze at Amelia's beauty. She couldn't understand what he was staring at and began screaming that if he didn't get away right away, she would call for help. The young man was surprised by such impudence. She was bathing in their sacred spring, and she also had the audacity to drive him away. He warned that if she called anyone, then many more fellow tribesmen would come to his aid. Since Amelia is very beautiful, the guy could ask his sister to have mercy on her. The goddess began to call the python and the lion for help. The young man began shouting for her to get out quickly, as it was dangerous in the water. Austin and his new acquaintance turned out to be stronger than each of them thought of each other. The horned ones were all killed. The guys heard a call for help and realized that it was Amelia. Austin grabbed the young man by the throat, demanding to know where his female was and what he had done with her. But the young man was not going to answer his question, but only threatened that if he did not let him go, big problems awaited him. Seeing the goddess with the python, the Lion King threw the young man away and rushed towards her. The girl was very scared, trembling with fear. She clung to Austin. The guy began to reassure her that there was nothing to worry about. He threw the stranger into the water. The leader told Amelia that if she wants that guy to pay for his actions, then she should just say so, and he will deal with him. The girl smiled. Austin was so cute when he was embarrassed. The stranger asked for help. He did not know how to swim. A crocodile appeared on the horizon, heading straight towards the guy. Amelia ran up to the python and asked him to save the guy. Although he was rude to her, he was not worthy of such a death, in her opinion. The stranger was saved. Tears flowed from his eyes. Until the last, he was sure that no one would save him. Amelia began to shout to the python to warn against attacks by crocodiles. She did not understand how there were such a large number of crocodiles in such a small body of water. The young man fell into a panic. He said that it was dangerous in the water, and now they would all die. The python shouted at him to shut up. The goddess was at a loss. There were too many crocodiles. If everything continued like this, then the snake and this guy would die. She immediately thought about Austin, but although he was an experienced fighter, he knew how to fight only on land. It was unlikely that he would some benefit. The girl began to calm herself down and think about how to defeat the crocodiles in a different way. She thought about cunning. These crocodiles were similar to the Nile ones, but what were their weaknesses? She remembered that the eyes are their weak point, which means they need to hit the eyes. Above her, Amelia saw stone pigeons, and Nile crocodiles. This is an example of symbiosis. If she can find the nest of these pigeons, then she can find the nest of crocodiles. She finally realized that there was another way to save the guys, but she would need Austin's help. They had to follow the birds. Along with their nest, Amelia was sure that she would find a nest of crocodiles. Just at this time of year, they were laying eggs, so they would be able to take their eggs and threaten the crocodiles. The nest must have been around here somewhere. She suggested to the leader that they split up so they could quickly find the crocodiles' eggs. There were too many crocodiles in that pond, so they shouldn't have met them here. Amelia explained to Austin that there should be a lot of dry branches and grass near the nest, and that crocodiles usually hide their eggs somewhere on the hills. A little later, the Lion King seems to have found the nest. The python was already starting to run out of steam. It seemed to him that there were more and more crocodiles. Their saviors returned. Amelia held the crocodile eggs in her hand and shouted that if they did not retreat now, she would destroy them. Throwing the eggs into the water, the crocodiles swam after them. The girl asked the python if everything was okay with him. He arrogantly replied that a couple of crocodiles would not have done anything to him, even if she had not helped him. Then sooner or later he would have dealt with them. Seeing that the crocodiles were returning, the young man led everyone after him. He led them to where his tribe Rogali was located. Despite the fact that he was first thrown into the water and then almost eaten by crocodiles, the young man allowed them to enter his lands. He would never have forgiven them if it weren't for his sister Amelia. He considered her beautiful. He really liked the girl. The guy invited his new acquaintances to the tribe as leaders, but at the entrance, they were met by those same defeated horned ones. They pointed out Austin and the python to the leader's assistant. One of the horned ones was outraged by their impudence. First they beat them, and now they came straight to their territory in search of death. The man demanded that the leader's assistant restore justice. The young man approached her and said that some kind of misunderstanding had happened here. These were his friends, and he invited them to the tribe as guests. The woman was furious. She attacked the boy. She believed that he did not know what his friends had done, saying that the leader was too lenient towards him, and the guy did not even think about his people and went over to the side of the enemy. She ordered the guests to be captured in order to restore justice and avenge their people. Amelia stood in confusion. They didn't come here to quarrel with anyone. Was there really no other way out? The goddess shouted at them to stop, trying to explain that they had no intention of starting a fight with them. She presented them with a small bundle of grass as a token of gratitude for their hospitality. The horned ones froze, drooling. The grass seemed so soft, tender, juicy, and tasty. Amelia knew that antelopes are very picky eaters, so they taste only the juiciest and freshest grass. And just for this occasion, she collected along the way the best grass she had found. The leader's assistant did not understand why they stopped and gave the order to immediately seize the uninvited guests. Hearing the noise, the leader of the Rogali tribe appeared in front of them. Austin stepped forward and asked the chief why her tribe attacked them when they were at the waterfall. The Lion King explained that they had to defend themselves from the attack, but now they are trying to take revenge on them for their own attack. The horned one began to make excuses to the leader that they noticed these two males and considered their appearance somewhat unusual for their region, so they decided to grab them and give them to her. The woman started shouting at them that they were idiots. The leader began to apologize for her men. Sometimes they acted too thoughtlessly. The woman said that she would never harm those who saved this young boy. She invited the guests to stay the night. The chief's assistant was outraged that the chief was going to just let them go. The woman explained to her assistant that their people themselves attacked the guests, and then, having received a couple of bruises, they wanted to take revenge on them, especially since the males already had a female. She was not going to take away someone else's property. She invited her dear guest to follow her. Amelia wanted to try again to believe that there was a place for good people in this world, and besides, she had business with the Rogali tribe. The assistant, along with the loser in the battle, was not going to leave everything as it was. She had a plan. But since strangers were invited as guests, she could not act rudely and directly. The cave was very spacious. The young man said that in their cave there was a lot of space and recesses. Each family had its own spacious home. The young man offered to settle next door to him. No one lived there. His younger sister, little Lucy, ran out to meet the boy, and the girl greeted Amelia. Austin was once again convinced that Amelia loved children very much. In the future, he really wanted a child from her. The girl began to cough heavily. The leader of the Rogali tribe panicked and ordered the boy to urgently take her to bed, as the baby began to feel feverish again. No one knew what was wrong with the girl, but many of their tribes suffered from this strange disease. It all starts with a simple cough, and then it develops into a severe fever, getting worse and worse each time. Lucy's parents died from this disease, and recently the girl herself began to cough heavily. Amelia said that she knew a little about medicine and asked to examine the baby. She wondered that a flock of antelopes was suffering from this fever. Was it really horse plague? The young man told the goddess that it all started about 10 days ago. Lucy usually lies in her home and rarely goes outside, so she only had contact with him and her older sister. Amelia knew it might seem rude, but she had to ask when exactly their parents died. My parents passed away a little over a year ago, right after baby Lucy was born. The goddess thought it was very similar to the horse plague, but at the same time, it was not. But she did not understand why so many people from the tribe got sick. Amelia sent the young man to get plants that help against fever. She saw them in the vicinity of the forest. The leader didn't like the fact that he brought guests and was leaving. She ordered the guy to stay with them, and she would send someone to get the plants. Thinking that Amelia had been hungry all day, the young man brought her some fruit. Austin and his companion were surprised by such fruits. They had never seen them before. The python said that these parts were full of them. Amelia immediately had a question about where they collect this fruit. Is it near the swamp? She remembered that she had seen this fruit near the swamps where she and Austin had passed. But there, the entire air was saturated with toxic fumes. Perhaps these fruits had time to become saturated. The young man confirmed that he collected this fruit exactly there. It grows only near the swamp, and then in small quantities. And since he himself does not like this fruit, he gave everything to little Lucy. The goddess arrived in time and stopped the Lion King from eating the fruit. It seems that she understood what the disease in the Rogali tribe is associated with. It is with this fruit. If you eat it in small quantities, it will happen unnoticed, but it is a completely different matter when you eat too much of it. However, these were only assumptions. Amelia was not sure that she could cure the baby, especially if it was poison. Having embraced the goddess, Austen said that in any case, he would have to tell everything to the leader and let her decide for herself. The python brought fish for Amelia, since they cannot eat fruit, one for her and one for himself. The girl was surprised when he managed to catch a fish, really during the time they were at the waterfall. It turned out that the python always thought in advance what it would eat or where it would sleep. He said that if Amelia became his female, then she would never have to starve or freeze. The next morning, the chief was told about the fruit and concerns about it. Amelia gave her a plant that removes toxins. The leader said that if it helps save her tribe, then her gratitude will know no bounds. But the problem was that the goddess was not completely sure that the disease was precisely because of the fruit. Austen suggested finding a patient on whom the medicine could be tested. Although this was accompanied by risk, it was the only way to find out everything. The leader promised to find someone. This conversation was overheard by one of the horned ones, who was in cahoots with the leader's assistant. Half an hour later, the leader returned with a volunteer. Out of the entire tribe, there was only one. The rest were scared when they heard the word medicine. Amelia made soup from herbs that remove poison from the body. She decided that this would be much more effective. Having taken a small sip of soup, a fountain of blood began to gush from his throat. Then the guy fell down dead. The volunteer's brother rushed to him. He was furious over what had happened, blaming Amelia and her friends for everything. The girl could not understand what her mistake was, whether she had incorrectly identified the cause of the disease, and her decoction only intensified the course of the true disease. There was something wrong with the color of the blood. Fresh blood should be bright red, but his was dark. Amelia asked to examine the volunteer again, since perhaps his illness was different from the one they were going to treat. The guy's brother demanded retribution from the leader so that she would restore justice and punish the uninvited guests. Otherwise, she would not have the right to be called their leader. Austen defended his female because if she says that something is wrong here, then it is so. The leader demanded that all this stop immediately. She would look into this issue herself and then tell them everything. The young man was sure that there was nothing to understand here. The horned ones arranged everything themselves. While everyone was figuring out who was right and who was wrong, Amelia noticed that little Lucy had come to her senses, which means the herbs helped her. The young man said that his sister not only came to her senses, but seemed to have fully recovered. Today, when Amelia was preparing the medicine, Lucy secretly drank it all, and then fell asleep and woke up full of energy. The goddess checked and concluded that baby Lucy was completely healthy. The volunteer's brother did not let up. He believed that they were trying to shield the killers. Austen was angry. He said that whether it was true or not, they would only find out after Amelia examined his brother. The volunteer who woke up began to make excuses that he had nothing to do with this. But his brother asked him to do all this. Amelia immediately realized that the guy did not drink her medicine, but it was the blood of other animals that was mixed with the medicine. The guy admitted that this was true. He really asked for forgiveness and asked for more medicine, since he really was getting worse and worse. The leader immediately demanded an explanation, because of him, the entire tribe had just lost their chance of recovery, although so many of their fellow tribesmen had already died because of this disease. The volunteer's brother, even after the failure, stood his ground. He did not believe that 3 strangers could save them from the disease. The leader ordered to seize him and imprison him. Thanks to the courage of little Lucy, who was the first to test the medicine, everyone was able to quickly sort out this misunderstanding. The leader asked Amelia for forgiveness for the fact that it was entirely her fault as the leader that the girl almost got into trouble, and she also thanked her for the medicine for the tribe. The goddess admitted that there was nothing special to thank her for, since she did it for her own benefit. She heard that the waterfall is the sacred source of Rogali. She asked for the opportunity to draw water there. Austin began to pull Amelia away, saying that she shouldn't ask for his tribe. He himself would find a way to negotiate. The girl was outraged by this. She did not understand what was wrong with the fact that she wanted to help her tribe. Austin took her words too literally. If Amelia called his tribe hers, it means that she is ready to become his woman and bear him children. The girl promised that while she leads the Rogali tribe, their tribe will be given the opportunity to draw water from their sacred source. The leader thought about it. It seemed to her that this was not enough, since Amelia saved the life of an entire tribe. She offered to give the goddess some of their males. Amelia refused everything. The only thing she wanted was to stay here a little longer. Austin approved of her request. In the dungeon, the Horned One asked that the door be opened for him. The door opened and the leader's assistant came in. The guy immediately cheered up. Having hugged the male, she promised him that she would let him out of here. The woman believed that although she was not a leader, she was her aunt, and the girl should take her opinion into account. Besides, the strangers would leave sooner or later, so she was sure that there was nothing to worry about. In a couple of days, the fights were supposed to begin. She told the guy to try hard to become the winner, and then no one would have any doubts that he was a man worthy of her. The leader's assistant promised that she would help him win. She was not going to forgive those who did this to him. 2 days later, it was time for the duel. It was very lively. Amelia was surprised that so many people were present. Everyone was whispering about Amelia behind their backs. Only Austin and the python stood aside. This clearly did not suit them. The python believed that none of these weaklings were worthy of even looking at her. Little Lucy ran up to the goddess and brought a flower to her savior. The opening of the male duel was announced. The women who received desert roses had to take the best places so that they could watch the duels up close and choose the one they liked best. Amelia was shocked. She was not going to choose anyone. The girl was trying to return the flower back to Lucy. The girl refused to take the flower back. Since the goddess accepted it, she is obliged to choose one of the best males who will leave with her. Lucy pulled Amelia by the hand to the observation deck, thinking that she had done everything she could for her brother. The python and the lion were shocked no less than the goddess. They were constantly on guard and could not even think that the defense would crack because of some brat. Lucy called Amelia to sit next to the leader. She was waiting for her brother to enter the arena. Although he was young, he was a good fighter. The goddess felt awkward. The leader asked Amelia if she had really changed her mind and decided to take a couple of males with her. The girl thanked her for her concern, but she really didn't intend to take anyone with her. Amelia remembered the little girl's words that the flower would need to be given to one of the males, but among those present there were many girls with flowers. Everything was correct, and the male who received the most flowers will have the right to choose the female. He will have to choose one of the girls who gave him the flower, and later they will become spouses. Amelia was glad that if the guy to whom she gave the flower did not choose her, then everything would be fine. Austin expressed a desire to participate in the duel. He believed that he and Amelia loved each other and that he was enough for her. Python also decided to fight for the girl, although he believed that these weaklings were no match for him. Intervening in the conversation, the chief's assistant gave approval for their participation, making an exception for the guys. It was suspicious for the lion and python that this female stood up for them. However, knowing how strong the males were, she decided to add a few conditions. They had to fight with their eyes closed and were forbidden to turn into beasts. That's why Austin had the feeling that they were being lured into a trap. There was no turning back, and the males agreed. Austin and his opponent were invited to the stage first. Amelia was surprised that the king was participating, and even with his eyes closed, his opponent seemed strong enough. It was too noisy. Austin was afraid not to hear the enemy's steps. The enemy was sure that this was a good chance for him, but the male was unlucky. Amelia screamed at the top of her lungs to warn Austin of the impending danger. Grabbing his opponent by the horns, the king mounted him, apologizing in advance. but it was all for the sake of Amelia. The first fight was completed. Austin emerged victorious. In his thoughts, the Lion King thought that he would definitely take first place, and Amelia would become his wife. She just needed to wait. The girl exhaled. She was scared to death, but fortunately, Austin was not hurt. This fight was really exciting. She already thought that her male would lose. The next thing in the fight was the python with its opponent. Once again, Amelia was amazed. She couldn't figure out why the snake got involved in all this. The leader told the girl that her assistant's condition was that Austin fight in a blindfold, and that the python was prohibited from transforming into a mammal. Amelia sat gloomy. She was worried about her friend, because he could have suffered greatly in this fight. Before the start of the fight, the python's opponent apologized in advance for the fact that he might injure him, since it would be difficult to fight against the beast. Starting first, the enemy hit the python in the face with all his might. For him, it was child's play. The snake knocked out his opponent with a kick. The girls were beside themselves with surprise, especially the leader. For her, such a performance was the first time in the tribe. Python told his opponent that he was too weak to fight with him on the same platform, so he decided not to beat him anymore, and also to give up himself if the enemy ever got him. The man was furious. He promised the python to wipe the grin off his face. Transforming into a beast, he rushed straight at the snake. Python jumped back with the words that if he is weak, then he needs to admit it. The fact that a man considers himself strong does not make him so. These words really egged the antelope on. He asked his opponent to shut up, calling him and his entire tribe weaklings. The antelopes from the tribe shouted furiously, promising to avenge their fellow tribesmen when it was their turn. They promised to destroy and trample the python. Python believed that only weaklings huddled together to fight someone. With all his respect for this tribe, he considered everyone to be weaklings. Amelia thought to herself that the guy would shut up quickly. Otherwise, there was a high probability that all the antelopes would attack him as soon as he left the stage. The leader was amused, but the goddess could not share this joy with her. She did not understand what was funny about when everyone was destroyed. The presenter said that the python had won. He saw that everyone looked excited, but asked not to waste all their strength, since a lot of interesting things awaited everyone ahead. The young man wondered on a flower whether he would win or lose. His sister ran to him to inform him of his opponent. The opponent was not so huge, but he had very sharp horns. Once he pierced a cheetah with these horns. The young man became nervous. He realized that it would not be easy for him. The baby was upset. She didn't know what to do after thinking. She suggested that her brother ask Austin to teach him how to fight. Since they were rivals, the guy understood that the lion would not help him. Little Lucy insisted on this, because until you try, you won't know, and her brother agreed. While the young man was thinking about how to start a dialogue, Lucy said for him that her brother had a very strong opponent, and they would like to ask Austin to show him a few techniques that will help him win. Austin agreed, as if he had no choice. If his little daughter looked with the same look, he would do anything for her. The king really wanted children from Amelia. In such a short period, it was impossible to learn to suddenly become strong, but you can learn to use your strengths. Austin asked the young man what his strengths were. The guy suggested that it might be force, but the king shook his head that it was clearly not. Then he suggested maybe speed, but that wasn't good either. Austin believed that these were his weaknesses. The young man became angry for such words, threatening to kill the lion. His little sister tried to calm him down and listen to the leader. Austin told of the horrifying tradition of his tribe. When some wandering lion kills a king, he always kills all the children of that king. Once upon a time, there was a lion cub. One day, one of these wandering lions appeared on the threshold of his house. He was merciless and killed the father, brothers, and sisters of this lion cub. Eventually, it was his turn, but he did not want to die. The lion cub understood perfectly well that he could not cope with this lion, so he decided to completely expose his weakness. As expected, the enemy did not want to show mercy, however. Sensing the weakness of the little lion cub, the wandering lion lost his vigilance. Only thanks to the fact that the lion cub skillfully took advantage of his weaknesses and strengths, he managed to defeat an opponent who was superior to him in everything. The young man and his sister were impressed by this story, Austen continued, which is why you need to understand that your weaknesses do not always remain weaknesses. It all depends on how you use them. The young male had to think carefully about this, and then perhaps he could unexpectedly turn the tide of the battle in his favor. The young man understood everything and decided to do it right now. Amelia overheard this conversation. The girl had tears in her eyes. She realized that this lion cub was Austen. The male confirmed this. The goddess, of course, knew that this was a common phenomenon among lions, but she could not even think that Austen had encountered this. She was sure that the death of all members of his family had left an imprint on him. The Lion King reassured the girl. All this was no longer important, since it happened many years ago, so he met the former leader of the West, who picked him up. The former chief was as strong as he was merciful. He created the Western tribe by uniting all those who had lost their home, which is why their tribe had such a variety of races. Only now Amelia realized that different types of races live in the Western tribe, as, for example, in Rogali, only antelopes live. Austen told the goddess that he hoped that he could continue the work of the former leader and would continue to try for the good of their tribe and help those in need. The host announced the next participant. It was a young man. Amelia was interested in watching this fight and finding out if he could learn anything from the Lion King. Lev noticed that the girl suddenly became cheerful. He wondered if she really felt that it was painful for him to remember the past, so she was now trying to distract him. Austen smiled. Amelia was so caring. Perhaps he should show his weaknesses more often so that they would become even closer. Seeing the goddess and the lion walking in an embrace, the python got angry. He cannot understand when they managed to get so close. He wasn't going to just stand there and watch it. Python's path was blocked by the leader of the Rogali tribe. She invited him to fight, saying that he, of course, was strong, but she was not a weakling either. The snake could not understand whether she was bothering him on purpose. In his opinion, the weaklings were so stupid that they didn't even listen to the instinct of self-preservation. If he had known that the leader would pester her like that, he would have simply thrown her to the ground and moved on. The chief's assistant was a little sorry that it was not possible to knock out those two males, however. She was sure that this time everything would go well, since she selected the weakest of the three for the next one to fight. The horned one considered the young man too low to fight with him. He believed that there was no way for the guy to defeat him. The young male was sure that sooner or later he would get his rival. The guy hit his opponent right in the stomach, which sent him flying. Having fallen to the ground, he began to cry that he was in too much pain. His opponent stood in confusion. He didn't put much force into the blow. Why was the young man in so much pain? Taking advantage of his weakness, the young male transformed into an antelope and struck his opponent with all his might. Seeing the support from Amelia, he could not fall face down. At the moment when he ran towards the enemy, a stone fell under his hoof. The young man fell as if dead. Amelia could not understand what happened and why the guy fell. Austen said that he seemed to see something flash near the young man's feet, and then he fell to the ground. The goddess did not notice this at all, and it seems that the others did not either. She knew that Austen could be trusted, and besides, lions' vision was much better than that of people or other wild animals. They were able to see fast objects even at a considerable distance. The young male's rival was furious that he dared to deceive him. He promised that the guy would pay for this, but in war, all means were fair. The presenter announced that the young man's opponent, Caleb, won this fight. Tears welled up in the eyes of the young male. He could not believe that he had lost, and now would not be able to marry his sister Amelia. Everyone rushed to console the poor man, but with tears in his eyes he ran away to be alone. The leader realized that the guy wanted to be alone. She was very sorry that the competition was over for him. If he had not stumbled then, he would probably have won. Austen said he thought someone outside the arena helped Caleb with this. There was no evidence yet, so Amelia decided not to make it public because the young man was their friend, and she did not want to just sit idly by and figure it all out. According to the leader, if this really was the case, then the violator should be severely punished. But if she now speaks out without any evidence, it will only scare away the violator. So she asked the guests to look into this. Austin had already managed to look at the approaches to the platform, but did not find anything suspicious. Perhaps what knocked the young male down was still lying there. The leader stopped the competition, saying that today they were especially good, and it was a pleasure to watch them. She felt so happy that she wanted to climb onto the platform and sing. The crowd began to support the leader. Everyone wanted to hear her sing. While the girl was singing, Austin and Amelia were looking for what made the guy stumble. The goddess discovered something. Picking it up, she realized that it was moistened sand, which was tightly compressed into small lumps. Someone from the crowd noticed that there were strangers in the arena and shouted. The leader fell into a panic. She did not know what to answer. Austin and his companion were not taken aback, saying that they simply decided to dance to the magnificent singing of the leader. After some time, 3 breathed out. They were still able to pull it off. Amelia showed what she found on the platform, but the leader did not understand what was so special about it, because it was always windy in the place where the competition took place. The girl asked to sniff. The sand smelled like a desert rose. She assumed that the intruder used the juice of a desert rose to wet the sand. The result was small, hard balls. The young man was running, so it was easier to knock him down. Throwing a small ball was enough for him to lose. Austin patted his companion on the head, calling her very smart, which embarrassed the girl. The leader thought, today almost every female has one desert rose, and the males could have picked its petals somewhere. The Lion King believed that the intruder could not be a male. This is a competition for the love of females. No male in his right mind would deliberately knock out the young man and leave Caleb, who is clearly stronger than him. Amelia laughed. Even the boys understood better than other guys. Since the offender is a woman, then the matter will become even easier. There are not many girls in the Rogali tribe, so it was possible to gather everyone in one place and smell their hands. The leader's assistant, seeing that the leader and the guests were chatting about something, frowned. Having received compliments about her beautiful voice and thanking everyone, the leader asked if all the girls of the tribe who were ready for marriage had gathered here. One of the girls reported that everyone had gathered except the leader's assistant. The leader asked the girls to stretch out their hands, palms up, and little Lucy did the rest. Paying attention to what was happening, the leader's assistant wondered what they were doing there. But after a few seconds, she realized what was happening. Sniffing her hands, she discovered a strong scent of desert rose. Did they really know that she somehow helped Caleb? No, this couldn't happen, the woman thought. Just in case, she decided to quickly wash away this smell. Turning around, she came across Amelia. The girl asked where the assistant was going. Inside the cave of the Rogali tribe. The leader was angry that her assistant and Caleb dared to cheat in fights. They did not even imagine what offense they had committed. The fights between the males were a ritual for choosing a partner for marriage. The future of the Rogali tribe depended on it. For what they did, she could expel them from the tribe. Hearing about the expulsion, Caleb began to defend himself, saying that he did not know that this was all the tricks of the leader's assistant. He thought that the young man himself had stumbled. He begged to be forgiven, since he was not guilty of anything and did not ask the woman to help during fights. Hearing this, the young man shouted furiously that it was because of the help of his assistant that he lost. If not for her, then Caleb would not have been the winner in this battle. Smiling maliciously, the leader asked again, which means Caleb claims that this is all the work of the leader's assistant. The male confirmed all this. It was obvious to him that the woman liked him, and she wanted him to win and get her. He began to cry, continuing to shout that he was not guilty of anything and could not be expelled. The assistant couldn't help it and yelled at Caleb to shut up, confirming that she really wanted him to take first place and become hers. But this had nothing to do with the fact that she liked him. She invited him to tell the truth and retain at least a modicum of dignity. If the male himself had not climbed into her bed, she would never have thought of making him hers. One can only envy Caleb's conceit. He decided that the leader's assistant was unable to resist his incomparable beauty, but it turned out that he himself began to court her in order to get closer to the post of assistant leader. The leader confidently asked if they would admit to what they had done. The assistant admitted that she helped this idiot, and the fact that everyone found out about it cannot be changed. And if the leader is going to expel her, then so be it. Caleb begged for leniency. He did not want to leave his native tribe. The girl did not expect that the assistant would admit this so easily, but she had helped her since childhood. And besides, the woman was the only family member she had left. Gathering all her strength into a fist and allowing her emotions to break her, the leader announced that from now on, Caleb and her assistant are not members of the Rogali tribe. The assistant smiled, saying that her niece had finally matured. Since childhood, she had been more guided by her feelings. This was her main strength and weakness. The leader did not understand why her aunt did this. Was it really just to teach her a lesson? Amelia thought that the relationship between her niece and aunt seemed quite complicated. The leader sighed with relief, saying that they had finally sorted out this problem thanks to Austin and Amelia. Soon she would tell everyone that Caleb cheated and replace him with young men. But for now, everyone can return to continue watching the fights. Amelia began to worry whether everything was really all right with the girl. The leader asked the goddess to stay for a while. She wanted to talk to her about something. She asked the girl if Amelia knew who she was to the python. This question surprised her. She only knew that his animal form was a python. There was no chance to ask about the rest. The leader did not want to interfere in their affairs, however. Amelia had already saved the lives of her tribe twice, and she considered it her duty to tell her everything. Recently, there have been rumors that the Northern Lizard Tribe is looking for someone. If her information is to be believed, then this person is precisely the python lizard. The Northern Lizard Tribe was one of the main 4 tribes. This shocked the girl no less than the question. She asked why they were looking for him. Had he really offended someone? Amelia remembered the words of the system that in this world, there are 4 main tribes that divide spheres of influence among themselves. If Uzard is wanted by one of them, doesn't this mean that he has become the enemy of an entire quarter of the world? Python was the only son of the chief of the Northern World tribe. If all this is true, then why did he go alone to the territories of the West? Amelia asked. Such an important person should have some kind of escort, and he stooped to the point that she had to help him with his molt. It was rumored that the guy ran away from home to avoid marriage. The leader heard that his mother assigned 10 girls to help him as assistants to the leader, organizing a competition. In the end, Uzard had to choose 2 main assistants among them that would lead their tribe forward. However, he ran away the night before the end of this competition. Now all 10 girls are looking for him all over the world. If one of them finds out that there is a girl next to him, they will definitely want to kill her, so Amelia should be careful. The goddess began to make excuses that the leader misunderstood everything. There was nothing between her and Uzard. The guy followed her only because she helped him, and then decided that she was weak and began to defend. The leader thought that Amelia was too slow to understand in such matters. It was quite cruel not to notice the feelings of others like that. The girl asked Chief Rogali that if Uzard did not want to be found, could she keep his presence here a secret? She agreed. The Northern Lizard Tribe generously pays for information about Uzard. If the information turns out to be true, then the Rogali tribe will be provided with a year's supply of food. But as a sign of gratitude to Amelia, the leader will pretend that he was never here. The fights came to an end. Austin was in first place among the top 3 winners, and members of the Rogali tribe took the next places. Uzard was unhappy. If his opponent had not been more exhausted than usual, he would never have lost to Austin. The young man began to cry again because he had lost. His little sister began to reassure him that he was still very young and had everything ahead of him. The presenter asked the ladies to give their flowers to the males they liked, and then wait for their decision. Approaching Amelia, Austin asked if she would give him her flower. The girl froze with indecision. The leader pushed her into Austin's arms. She presented him with a flower. The Lion King, having accepted the flower, said that this was the best gift he had ever been given. Everyone looked at them and shouted words of joy for them. Immediately after the kiss, Amelia pulled away, saying that she still had things to do, and it was time for her to go. This whole situation confused her very much. She didn't know how to look others in the eyes now. The goddess began to make excuses that this kiss was a reward for first place. Austin became embarrassed and changed the topic about the local caves and their unusualness. The Lion King grabbed the girl's hand and asked her to sit down. She agreed. Amelia saw that something was carved on the wall. She began to take a closer look and discovered that a very explicit scene had been carved out. Austin moved closer to look too. The girl began to close his eyes and shout that there was nothing perfect there, but everything seemed to her. The Lion King finally saw what was carved there. They both blushed. Then the guy looked straight into Amelia's eyes. At that moment, the situation became even hotter. He pulled her closer to him and kissed her. The girl tried to resist, but very quickly gave in. During the kiss, Austin asked if she would like him to become her man today. Laying Amelia on the bed, the leader swore that he would protect, love, and take care of her for the rest of his life. Gently kissing her neck, he said that she would be the only one he needed and no one else. He promised to live a happy life together. All Amelia could do was whisper his name, and then she moaned. Austin invited Amelia to try everything that was carved on the wall. The girl tried to control herself. In her head, she reproached herself for starting to imagine all this, like a preoccupied pervert. The guy stopped abruptly and stood up. Amelia stood up with him. Smiling, Austin said that he thought that they would stop there. It was enough for him that the goddess blushed and got nervous, and this already means that she perceives him as a man. Having hugged her, he promised that he would not do anything against her will. Her hugs were enough for him. Austin will wait until Amelia accepts him with all her heart and soul, whispering in her ear that only then can he think about conceiving a little lion cub. The goddess thought that Austin had really changed a lot. He used to be a domineering and straightforward leader who did whatever he wanted, but now he has learned to respect her feelings and desires. Amelia could not answer him. Only in her thoughts she thanked him that he was ready to wait for her. The girl felt something touch her. Was it really him? Austin blushed. In such an environment, it was hard to control his body. It was necessary to quickly distract himself. The Lion King began to discuss matters. Regarding the transportation of water, there was one problem, although the Rogali tribe allowed them to take water from the source. But the distance between the tribes was rather large, and besides, they would have to go through the swamps and the city of Izet. Because of the trouble that happened in the city was hostile to their tribe. Austin did not think that they would allow them to simply cross their territory like that. Amelia proposed building a bridge across the Rift Valley. This would significantly shorten the journey, and there would be no need to go through the swamps and territories of Azet. The Lion King was surprised by this proposal. He said that most likely they would not succeed. The distance between the edges of the Rift Valley was too great to stretch ropes between them. Thoughtful, Austin added that even if they solved this problem, it would take too much time and effort. Amelia's eyes sparkled. She already had a ready-made solution. She began to whisper her plan into the lion's ear. Now his eyes also sparkled. He couldn't understand how she had thought of this, because anything could work out, and if it worked, then they could solve all the other problems. Out of joy, Austin embraced her. Only a goddess sent by him from heaven could be so wise, the leader believed. Amelia beamed and began to justify herself that this was not her wisdom, but rather that of her ancestors. Although the Lion King said that he would wait until she was ready, he thought, after all, nothing will happen from one kiss. Uzard stood near the cave of Amelia and Austin and was thinking whether he should come in or not. When he came in, he was afraid to see such a picture, but then he realized that if he didn't come in now, then in the future they might have a child, and he was not going to allow that. Having broken into their cave, he found the Lion King and his companion enjoying a kiss. Sharply pulling Amelia's hand away, he began to shout how dare this animal dare to force her. The girl began to make excuses that he had misunderstood everything. She just got scared and dropped the dishes with fruit. Austin didn't force her. She accepted his kiss herself, but for some reason it was so embarrassing to say. Uzard promised that while he was nearby, the lion would not touch her with a finger. Amelia was now under his protection. The goddess thought that it was good that the python had appeared. Otherwise, she would not have been able to stop for one kiss. The girl decided that first she needed to calm down properly, because then she would be able to fight temptation. The Lion King was upset. He decided that after all he could not restrain himself and scared her away. Amelia asked Uzard why he suddenly burst into their cave. He said that he promised that he would protect her because she was weak, and if she was harmed, then his promise would be broken. The goddess tried to calm and convince the python that Austin would not harm her, and he had nothing to worry about. Smiling, he said that even a husband can harm his beloved wife, and brothers can become eternal enemies. Males are much more terrible than the girl thinks. Amelia changed the topic, saying that she had been told something about who Uzard was. Was it really true? And was he the only son of the leader of the northern lizard tribe? With a calm look, the guy confirmed everything. He tried to find the right moment to tell everything, however. He had no idea that the girl knew everything. In the end, the python added that Amelia may not even persuade him to return. He won't do it. The goddess was surprised why Uzard thought that she would persuade him. On the contrary, she admired his disobedience. Marriage issues should not be decided by third parties, so he should marry the one he truly loves. Python was sincerely surprised. This was the first time he had been told something like that. Since childhood, they had only said that he would have to choose the strongest girl of the tribe to become the leader. Uzard believed that none of them were even close to worthy of his help. Amelia tried to support him, calling him a great guy, and he should find a girl who wants help with all her heart. But there is no need to rush in this matter. He thought that perhaps he had already found such a girl. Amelia decided to clarify one more question. Since the guy was from the leader's family, he might have heard something about the treasure of the northern lizard tribe, about the same treasure that is associated with the goddess of rain. The girl said that in the past, she was saved by one powerful magician who told about the treasures of the 4 great tribes, after which she promised that she would collect all 4 treasures. Amelia confidently said that if you collect all 4 treasures and combine them, the goddess of rain herself will appear, which will turn the desert into a huge oasis. If the girl had told Uzard about the system and moving to another world, he would not have understood anything, so he had to lie a little. Python also heard about this legend. The legend says that thousands of years ago, the sun goddess, the sister of the rain goddess, was overcome by envy of her sister, so she set out to kill the rain goddess. After the assassination attempt, just before her death, the rain goddess placed her divine power in a staff and gave it to her 4 holy maidens so that they would find her reincarnation and give it to her, after which the rain goddess would be reborn and return the world to its original peace. Naturally, the sun goddess did not sit idly by and hasten to destroy her sister's staff, but she failed. The holy virgins managed to divide it into 4 parts and escape to the world of people. Amelia didn't know that these treasures had such a history. The legends also say that after the death of the goddess, the world turned from a fertile oasis into a sizzling desert, and the 4 great tribes were created around the fragments of the rain staff. Concluding, Uzard said that these are just legends. No one knows whether the united parts will really be able to revive the rain goddess. Besides, the holy maidens were never able to find the incarnation of the rain goddess. Amelia asked joyfully, "This means that the 4 treasures are in the hands of the holy virgins. If she finds the holy virgin, then the treasure will be found." Python confirmed, but as far as he knew, the whereabouts of only one holy maiden were currently known, namely the holy maiden of the southern Julian tribe. If the goddess remembered correctly, the western tribe and the southern tribe were very close, separated only by a river. The southern tribe must be not far from here. Uzard offered to escort the girl to the southern tribe. Moreover, he is quite familiar with that area. The girl thought that Austin needed to take care of the affairs of his tribe. Without him, they would not build a bridge. She was afraid that soon they would have to say goodbye. The next day in the Rift Valley, Amelia looked for a place with flat and strong soil, and it was quite suitable for building a suspension bridge. First, it was necessary to explore the place on the other side of the valley. The goddess was going to explain to Austin in detail what parameters he would need to choose a place, and then he himself would be able to find a suitable one on the other side. The Lion King thought that there was nothing wrong with learning how to do all this himself, but for some reason, a feeling of anxiety did not leave him inside. As they thought, the distance between the two sides of the valley was too great, so the ropes had to be thrown using a stone thrower. Amelia had already drawn a diagram, so if they stuck to it, everything would work out. Austin realized that she had been drawing all night with those burnt branches. He believed that there was no need to rush so much. Their construction would still take a lot of time. The girl admitted that she would need to leave for a while. Having grabbed Amelia, the lion began to ask where she was going, because they wanted to return to their tribe together. The goddess said that she needed to go to the southern Julian tribe to find the holy maiden of their tribe and take their treasure. Austin said that he would go with her, since it was dangerous to go there alone. Amelia knew that the Lion King had more important things to do. The people of his tribe were waiting for him to return with the news that he had found the source. They could meet later when the leader was finished with the affairs of the tribe. The python intervened in the conversation that he would go with the girl to protect her, and the young man also wanted to protect his sister. Austin trembled. Amelia touched him and promised that nothing would happen to her. The leader agreed. First, he would work on the bridge, and as soon as he finished, he would immediately go to the southern Julian tribe. The guy understood that the goddess had her own affairs, and he could not keep her near him just because of his selfish desires. Amelia decided, since there was nothing special to wait for, they would set off today. The sooner they set off, the sooner they would meet again. Turning to the python and the young man, Austin said that for some time he entrusted Amelia's protection to them. Snarling, Uzard said that he did not need his approval. He himself decided that he would protect her. The young man supported the python, saying that who was he to dispose of Amelia? Furious, Austin shouted that he was her male. The males laughed, asking if Amelia herself thought that anyone could say that he was her male. At first, the girl was very sad because of the breakup, and then they made a noise again and destroyed the whole atmosphere. But only this was for the better. Thanks to them, Amelia was filled with confidence that they would meet again. Finally, they reached the border with the south. The goddess breathed in with her whole body. She knew that living in the south was much more pleasant than in the west. There were rivers everywhere. He began to confidently step forward. Uzard stopped her, saying that something was approaching. A guy was running ahead. Amelia recognized him. It was Eric. He was very glad to see the girl. But now was not the time for hugs. He had to run. Otherwise, he could become the next victims of the vultures. Python said, since this was Amelia's acquaintance, he would help him. For him, it was nothing. Initially, Uzard coped well, but then there were even more griffins. Eric grabbed Amelia's hand, preparing to run. One of the griffins said that everyone would die for Eric's sins, since they were together. The goddess could not believe what was happening, since she could not even open her eyes from the attack of a flock of griffins. Uzard hugged the girl and asked her not to be afraid of anything. He would protect her. The guys understood that they wouldn't last long like this. They had to somehow break out. Amelia knew that this journey would be fraught with many dangers, so before setting off, she looked at her skills and they had already rolled back. A system appeared in front of the girl. She was very glad that she was called. The goddess asked to activate the thunderstorm skill. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. The girl couldn't understand why it didn't work, or if there was some kind of mistake. The system mockingly asked if Amelia doesn't remember what needs to be done for the skill to be activated. She pushed the goddess towards Uzard. A kiss occurred. This was what was needed. The guys could not understand where the lightning came from. Eric remembered that when they were in Isaiah, the same thing happened. Lightning struck at the right moment. Python was perplexed by what happened. Amelia was thinking about how to explain everything to Uzard and apologize. Whether it was possible to tell about the system and the fact that it was to blame for everything.